So, you have an Instagram account like we all do, but maybe you want to take it a step further and increase its value so that maybe other businesses might see you as an opportunity for sponsorships, partnerships, or to become a whole brand ambassador. In this video, we're going to be diving into some technical best practices you can use to improve your brand to get to that kind of level. Now, in this video, I'm going to be mainly addressing people who use Instagram as a business tool, and they usually come under two categories: influencers and artists/entrepreneurs. In this video, I'm mainly going to be talking to the influencers, so the one for artists is going to be in a later video. Now, before we start, you first have to ask the question, what is a brand? And we have to define that. A brand in its simplest form is actually a constructed idea about something, and in this case, that's something being you, that you're trying to communicate to other people and to have people buy into that idea. Now, brand is most commonly applied via logos, brand colors, and taglines for companies such as Apple and Google. But individuals can also be brands, like, for instance, Rihanna and Kanye. In layman's terms, is basically what you represent. Now, in regards to personal branding, I have to give a caveat. Why? Well, because personal branding is exactly that. It's personal. The common best practices kind of change depending on who you are and what you do, as well as your creative input being involved. Also, this video is sponsored by Ideas Creative Inc. for letting me use their space. Now, moving forward, there are some common best practices when it comes to Instagram. 1. The photography and visuals. Now, this shouldn't come as a surprise because Instagram is a visual app, so having good visuals to pair with your brand and your imagery is it really goes a long way, to be honest. But I want to dive into specifics. A. If your Instagram features yourself and others mainly, having a mix of professional and normal well-shot photos is good. Reason being is that if you have your feed overpopulated with too many high professional photos, it can make people feel distant from you. Having a mix of professional photos and normal photos helps humanize you in a way that builds a long-standing connection, both with yourself and with others, helping people understand that at the end of the day, you're still a human. B. Proficiency with a photo editor like Lightroom or programs similar to it goes a long way. Again, reason being is that if you want to create a certain look and feel to your photos, these tools kind of help assist with that in the long run. How they do that is with something called color grading. Color grading is where you kind of change the qualities and features of a photo. Things like maybe making the saturation look a little bit higher, maybe the vibrancy, maybe make it look black and white, things like that. That's where you get color grading in. Color grading, you can research this more on YouTube, but if you guys want me to go a little bit more in depth on it, I can do that in a future video. So just let me know in the comments. C. In connection with my last point, you want to look up some tutorials for how to take better photos and how to get the best settings for your phone or camera. One tidbit, if you're using an iPhone, when you take a photo, some of you may have noticed is that Apple has this auto enhance feature that changes the photos that you take, and they sometimes make the photos look a little sharp and gritty, and you don't necessarily like the end result. What I like to do is I like to pop that same photo into Lightroom, and I like to use the texture tool, and I like to decrease the texture on the photo to soften the photo to make it look more natural and organic. If there's a tool in one of your photo editors besides Lightroom that softens a photo, you can use that as well. And D. Consistency without homogeneity is key. With your posts, you basically want all of your posts to be similar and related to each other, but not carbon copies of each other. A slight change in style and pattern can go a long way into making sure that your feed and your posts don't all look the same. 2. Consistency of content and visual style. Now, in connection with my last point, this point focuses on the user experience of your page. When people click and view your page and they go through your feed, you have to ask these questions. Are they overwhelmed when looking at your page? Are there too many different posts that are on your page, like too many different types of content? Is there even a recognizable pattern to what's on your page? These are the kind of questions you should ask. Now, to bring up a good example of consistency of content and visual style, I'll use Certified Samson. For those that don't know, Certified Samson is a comedy influencer, and his page reflects that. His videos all have a consistent look and feel to them, but I really want to focus on his video thumbnails. All his posts feature facial expressions of a character that he's playing, and this accomplishes two things. One, it creates curiosity, because subconsciously when you look at it, you think, oh, well, I wonder what this video could be about. Like, what is this character making that face? Secondly, the thumbnails make you very familiar with his face, which helps build a connection even before you click on the video. Another reason you want a good feed experience is because when people click on your page, they will become curious and they'll stay longer and engage with other posts that you have. C. You should also consider asking yourself this question. Can someone get a very good idea of who I am and what I do within a few seconds of looking at my page? I want to highlight two influencers who are good examples of this. The first is Danielle Gill. Now, at a quick glance, you can tell that Danielle is a fitness and health influencer. Everything on her page reflects that. Another example is Eden. Within a few seconds, you can tell that Eden is clearly an artist. And upon closer inspection, you could tell specifically that she's a musician. Now, with these examples, it's time to turn your attention to your own page. If upon review, it's not really clear who you are and what you're about, it may be time to improve on that. 3. Good storytelling. Now, this is where your creative input is very paramount. And I want you to ask yourself some questions. 1. What do your posts say about you? What does your audience have to say to you? What do you have to say to your audience? Are you having a conversation with your audience? Now, in regards to that last question, I want to bring up an example that kind of illustrates this whole point. Megan Thee Stallion is excellent at engaging with her audience, specifically her anime audience. Now, when Megan Thee Stallion cosplayed Death the Kid, it literally became public knowledge across the anime community within 24 hours. Being a celebrity especially a big celebrity, who still reps anime really hard, earned her some fans who may not have cared for her music to begin with, but now they will probably stand by her regardless. This expands outside of music, anything. Practically anything that she does, they may be supporters of. And I bring up this point because the kind of story that you tell yourself goes a really long way to building a long-standing connection, which is what brands are all about. 4. Use of Instagram Reels and carousels. Now, this is more technical aspects, but posts that utilize Instagram carousels and Reels, and also other features that Instagram wants to promote, they tend to do better. This is probably worked into Instagram's algorithm. Now, specifically with carousels, these keep users engaged for much longer with your content because they're designed in a way to subconsciously reward the brain with a visual stimulus all within a single swipe. Now, single posts still have their uses, especially for bigger, more solitary moments that you may want to use to highlight aspects of yourself or your career. 5. Posting rhythm and schedule. Now, posts that are done through the week, kind of like Monday to Thursday, these perform better than posts that are done during the weekend. Because on the weekend, people are merely being active and being outside and spending less time on their phone. B. Create a schedule for when you post so people become familiar and almost expectant of when you're going to post and almost look forward to the days when you do post, and it drives up engagement for those kinds of things. C. Avoid posting too often, as this can kind of create content fatigue from people seeing your posts too often, especially amongst the sea of other posts and stuff that's on Instagram, on the internet in general. But this point varies a lot based on what you do, so honestly, do take it with a grain of salt. 6. Character consistency. Is what you post consistent with who you are as a person, who people know you to be? Now, with this point, the way you try to present yourself online should at least be consistent with who people know you to be and who people expect you to be. The reason being is that if you are one way, if people know you to be one way, and you try to present yourself in another way online, you're going to have a very difficult time getting people to buy into who you are and by extension your brand. Now, this point is only valid if you're trying to represent yourself as authentically as possible, because some people do opt out of presenting themselves as who they are by kind of creating a bit of a persona or a character for them to portray themselves online. But with this point specifically, if you are creating a persona for yourself to represent yourself, it has to be clear that you're putting that out there, that you're putting out a persona and this isn't who you really are. But there's nuance to this, so again, a grain of salt is applied here. 7. Values. This point is actually very important and sometimes overlooked. Influencers sometimes make their money through brand sponsorships. But before you get to sponsorships, you should really ask yourself the question, am I the type of person that brands would want to sponsor with or want to partner with? This isn't a judgment of who you are as a person, it's just a reality of how brands actually do pick and choose who they want to sponsor. I know this because I've been on the other side of this coin working with clients. To illustrate this point, Barbados and the wider Caribbean is a smaller, close-knit society. Chances are, if a company is looking to partner with someone, they're going to go for someone that they know, like, and trust. Or they go for someone who's so popular, it trumps any risk of potential negative outcomes that could arise from partnering with this person. I bring up this perspective so that you can have a well-rounded view of both how to improve your brand and how you should represent yourself as an influencer. To end off, I really hope these tips were insightful and helpful. And if there's anything you guys want me to go more in depth in that I mentioned in the video, like having good photography and visuals, just let me know in the comments and I'll get to it in a future video. The video coming up is going to be for the artists and entrepreneurs, so subscribe and strap in for when that video launches. For now, have a good day guys, signing off.